So I'm about to check the spark plugs on this 2004 Mazda Demio, or a Mazda 2 as you might know it. Yeah, we've had some funny running. The tickover's been low and I suspect that the spark plugs aren't so good and they need changing. So I've removed this bolt here and this bolt here so I can take the inlet off. Then I'll remove all this equipment here. Took these screws out as well. You can see the controller underneath there. Now remove these two plugs from here. Now remove the plug from the inlet, and I'm going to undo this screw underneath so that I can take the inlet off. At the same time, remembering to take this pipe off around the back. That will help remove it. So I've now removed the top box there. This was a bit tricky to get out, this cable holder here. Don't know why people put those in there. Just crazy to get at, so yeah, real pain in the bum. And now you can see I've got to remove this bolt here. So I can take the rest of the air filter off. Put that in a safe place. And underneath here is a connector where the air filter bolt. So I removed this bolt here, and the bolt around the back. These are 12mm. You need a wrench for a 12mm wrench, which I used here. That's the easiest one to get in at the back. And I can now remove that part so I can see there clearly. Just put this on the floor in the safe place. So I can see clearly here my injectors and my coils. The coils are on top of the spark plugs in this case. We've got 4 spark plugs. What I'll do next is these are 10mm bolts. So I remove the 10mm bolts, lift out the coils, and then I'll check out the spark plugs. So as you can see, I've removed the bolts from each coil, and if I pull this out here, I can check the condition of the coil, and down here I can see the top of the spark plug. I'll be looking at removing those later on, and I can see what the spark plug is doing. There we go. Don't mind pulling these out because they're all on the right length of cable, so it's pretty obvious where they go back in. Good. Okay, I'll crack on with getting those spark plugs out. So what you can see here is spark plug has kind of worn itself away at the end, so instead of having a square end here on the top, it's kind of tapered off. So these are probably the original spark plugs from the car. This car's done over 100,000 kilometers, so yeah, 60 odd thousand miles or something. It's about time for a new set, so we'll get cracking on putting those in. These came out with a 14mm spark plug socket, so quite easy. So here we can see the new and the old spark plugs side by side. You see quite clearly the top electrode there is quite worn away on the old one, and on the newer one it's very square ended, very clean. So what I've done is, I suppose the other thing to note is that on the one on the left, the new one, that's a 1mm gap, a 1 or 1.1mm on this Mazda Demio, this 2005 model. And you can see on the right hand side there, the gap is clearly much bigger than the one on the left, so the spark won't be very strong, which means the car will be down on power and may even misfire. So we'll start putting those in, and I'll tell you how we go after it. So there we go, that's my spark plugs in. Not sure if you can see them down there, but yeah, they're all down there and installed. Oh, yeah, you can see that one. Now I'll put the caps back on. Go in there. And that one as well. There we go. Right, where are my screws? There we go. A bunch of screws to fasten in. Bolts. I'll get those tightened up. And I think while I've got the inlet manifold off, what I'm going to try and do is just clean up the air inlet, which sometimes on these cars can get clogged up. But you know, I've got quite a lot of equipment off at the moment, so I think what I might do is just undo this here, take that inlet off, and I can get in there and give it a good old clean up. So I'll do that next after I've fastened these nuts down. So I just undid that screw, and I've removed this rubber inlet here. I can see down there that actually it's quite clean. But what I think I'll do is I'll just give it a bit of a spray with carb cleaner, and literally just spray in there, and yeah, that'll clean it out. And it'll probably make it start a bit fast when I first turn the engine on, but it'll clean the gunk out of the carburetor here. Carburetor is an inlet manifold. Throttle. Okay, so I'll do that, and then I'll fasten all this back together. So that's it, I'll put it all back together, put these clips on here, and here, and here at the back, 2 screws in to cover up the connectors. Just reinstalled this air intake pod, that's the other 10mm screw, clipped it all back together, and as you can hear, it sounds really clean and sweet. Started straight up now from the torque. First time I started it, it was revving at about 1500 RPM. And it's now dropped to just under 1000, but it's still quite cold, so what I might do is just take it out for a run and see how it behaves.